In this video, we're going to rank every move in Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow.
Oh, hi, Mark.
What's up, Freccero fam? Welcome back to my channel. I'd like to experience everything that life has to offer. I just did a tier list for Gen 1 Pokemon. Saw this as well on Tier Maker. That's the main site I'm using right now. And I was like, you know what? Might as well do the moves. Because I got to be honest, starting with Gen 1 Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow. Some very iconic moves in here, especially because Gen 1 Pokemon, we all know, is so broken and glitchy that some of these moves in other generations just don't hit the same. But a lot of these hit in a very different way just because of how funky the OG games are. So let's just jump right into it. First off, we got Absorb. You know what's kind of interesting? This is actually one of my favorite starting moves when it comes to Oddish, for example, like having it be its first initial starting move. I think I might put this one though. I hate to say it because it's very low power, but it does replenish you. I think C tier. I was thinking potentially B, but I feel like B's kind of high already, and I feel like Absorber just doesn't hit the same. Acid Armor. I think I'm gonna do Acid Armor honestly in B because of two different things. One, I feel like increasing your defense isn't as useful, I feel like, in Gen 1, which I feel like just tends to be more special heavy, especially near the later stages of the game. But the badge boost glitch is real. And in case you don't know, the badge boost glitch, very iconic, that when you raise your stats, any gym badge that you have up to that point, those 12.5% boosts that you get from the badges gets automatically added onto you. So if you use this a bunch of times, it also raises, assuming you have the badge, your special and also other things. So I think in Gen 1 specifically, any stat boosting move is actually better than any other generation in a lot of different ways. Acid, I think I'm also gonna go B. I feel like Acid is an okay poison attack. Maybe I might bring it down here, but I'm like, nah, Acid's a little better than Absorb. Agility. I'm gonna say Agility. To be honest, I might also put potentially in B tier. Maybe Age. I feel like speed's more important than defense. This also does trigger the badge boost glitch and everything, increasing your speed a lot, but I think I'm gonna keep this here. Granted, I can always change these tiers as we go, right? Or move these around. Amnesia, 100% S tier. You could argue, if I had to organize these actually in the same category, Amnesia is arguably the best. It's got to say undisputed, the best move in Gen 1. Because remember, in Gen 1 and Gen 1 only, special is combined. So as opposed to the future generations of special attack and special defense being split up, which makes more logical sense, in Gen 1, special is one stat. So this is basically like Calm Mind times 2 in a sense, right? Aurora Beam, I'm gonna put A. Pretty solid ice attack, right? I might even say B, but I think ice, in my opinion, is probably the second best type. I feel like it'd probably go psychic then ice. In my opinion, if I had to pick the best types, because especially when it comes to ice, I feel like it's very super effective against a lot of different types, but also doesn't really have as many weaknesses. Like even like fire Pokemon aren't really that relevant, I feel like, in Gen 1 compared to other types when it comes to especially like fire moves, Barrage, I just say D tier. Yeah, D. I was thinking about F, but I'm like, nah. I mean, there's some moves that are pretty bad at Gen 1. I'm gonna put Barrage in D. Barrier, I'm gonna put, but it's also defensive. I might also put this in B tier potentially. Can be very useful. Bide. You know what's interesting about Bide? I'm gonna put it, I think, in C tier because for anyone who's ever done like a Pokemon solo challenge, like I've done a bunch on this channel, I feel like Bide is one of those moves that in the beginning, you're like, oh, it's the first TM you get, and it's trash. But then you realize there's a lot of situations that Bide actually is a decent strategy, especially in Pokemon solo runs. Bind can be useful because if you're faster and everything, but I'm also going to put it in C. Maybe D, actually. I think I'm going to go... I think I'm gonna actually put it in D. Just the accuracy and everything. Nah. Bite, I think is a C tier move. It just okay. Remember the dark type did not exist. It's also around this is brown because I think, but the dark type did not exist. I don't know. Blizzard, I'm going to put, I think, in A tier. I think actually Blizzard has a lot of utility. I know I'm putting Aurora Beam and Blizzard in the same tier, which is kind of ironic. Maybe I should move Aurora Beam around or whatever, but I think the thing with Blizzard is the accuracy isn't the best, but when it hits, right? Obviously, the most high-powered ice move. Body Slam, S tier. For sure. The fact that we get it so early, the fact that it can potentially paralyze, like, pretty high power as well. Like I said, so early in the game from SSN. I feel like Body Slam is arguably one of the best physical attacks, honestly, in Gen 1. Especially with 100% accuracy. Like, minus the 1 in 256 glitch. 100% accuracy. Like, it's basically like a more powerful Mega Punch in a sense that can also potentially paralyze. Bone Club? Ooh, I don't know. I might go. I think I'm gonna go B tier for Bone Club. Also, Boomerang, I might put C, I think. Both of these are just okay to me. I know that's like, what is it? Cubone's like special move. I think I'm gonna do that, honestly. Maybe, yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. I think they both belong in the C tier. They're decent, but I feel like you get way better moves as you go on. This is just all right to me. Bubble Beam. This may be an unpopular opinion. I think, especially for a water type or any kind of a decent special attacker, Bubble Beam is a decent move to get from the second gym. I think I'm gonna put it though in B tier. I think Bubble Beam, is a solid B tier move. Bubble, pretty low in power. I think I'm gonna put Bubble actually in D tier. I think Bubble's a pretty bad, like, if you look at like the different moves Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle get, Bubble's pretty low in power. Clamp, it is a good trapping move. I might put this one actually in B tier. I think Clamp can actually, especially because it's a special trap, can be pretty good. Counter Punch, D. Confuse Ray can have some decent. I think C tier is pretty solid for Confuse Ray. Ooh, first attacking psychic move, Confusion. I'm gonna go B tier actually. I know that's kind of crazy to say because like it is what could be considered the initial attacking psychic move. If you think of it like how every type has their initial first one, like Bubble is for water, blah blah blah. I think Confusion is pretty goated. Even right in the beginning. Constrict, D tier. Conversion, that's a tough one. Conversion can be kind of useful, but I'm just gonna put it in D tier. I feel like there is a couple utilities behind it, but it's not anything that I like rave about. I think, Crab Hammer, which is kind of interesting because I feel like if you look at Kingler, who has a really good attack stat, this is a water move. So I feel like, although it's a decent move, I actually feel like I'm going to put this one in C tier just because it's kind of ironic that with this incredibly high attack stat, you're going to use a move that's, same type attack bonus, but it's I'm going to put it here because I feel like it seems good in theory. Maybe if other Pokemon could learn it with higher special stats, there are also water in Gen 1, maybe, but Defense Curl does trigger the Badge Boost glitch. Don't think it's as useful, though, when it comes to defense. I think C tier, actually. C tier, I think, makes sense. Dig. Gonna be bold. I think because you get it pretty much right away. Again, you get it actually, right after Bill's house. I think I'm actually going to go A tier for Dig. It's going to be S tier, sorry, S tier. Because I think 100 base power, and it's basically like an infinite amount of escape ropes. Yeah, I think Dig, I think Dig's going to go S tier, to be honest, especially because of how early you get it. Usually you do trade it like later on for Earthquake just because it makes it a little bit easier. But there are some advantages to Dig, I think, over Earthquake as well. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with here. Disable. It doesn't disable the last move they do. It picks a random one. This might be bold. I might go F tier. I feel like this is a move I never use. Like, kind of useless, I feel like, in Gen 1. Maybe in other generations when it's the last move they use, so maybe you can kind of get creative with it. But, this one, no. Dizzy Punch, D tier. Not really. Double Edge, I feel like Double Edge has grown on me. I'll be honest, because it's a pretty powerful attack. The recoil does get annoying, but I actually am going to put Double Edge in B tier. I think because for some Pokemon, like, again, maybe it's because I've done a lot of Pokemon solo challenges. Sometimes, actually, a good amount of the time, Double Edge can be your best move of the whole run. Double Edge can save a lot of Pokemon in a lot of different ways because most Pokemon can learn it. So I think B tier actually, yeah. Double Kick. This is going to be an interesting take. I'm actually going to go B tier, surprisingly. The reason why is one, especially in, like, say, Pokemon Yellow, how Nidoran and Male can learn it way earlier. I think it's like level 12 or whatever. Definitely allows you to get around Brock because Pikachu gets aggressively walled by Brock in Pokemon Yellow. But also, I feel like most fighting moves are pretty awful in Gen 1. I feel like most fighting moves are pretty bad. And I think Double Kick, which is kind of crazy to say, is probably actually one of the best fighting moves if you, like, had to use one. Double Slap, D tier. That's all I have to say about it. Double Team. Man. This is going to be a controversial take. I hate to admit it. I do. But if I have to be blunt, S tier. I know. But the fact that you can evade, especially if, like, say, you're doing a solo Pokemon challenge, or even if you're not, if you just use this 6 times, the chance of you getting hit is so slim. I can't remember what the exact percentage is once you use it 6 times, but it's so slim that it's the cheapest way to win a battle by far. But you could argue, ignoring cheapness, it is actually one of the best moves. If you don't get hit, you can stay in the game a lot longer, right? Like, as much as I hate to put it alongside, like, Body Slam and Amnesia, yeah, I hate to say it, I feel like I never use it because it feels too not in the spirit of playing Pokemon. Like, I know it's part of the mechanics, but, Dragon Rage, what's kind of tricky about this one? If you could get it wicked early, I feel like it could be very useful. And I think there are some situations where Dragon Rage can be very helpful. But the fact that very few Pokemon, I feel like, can learn it. And when you get it in the game, was it in, I think it's Celadon City? I think I'm actually put this one in D tier. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but even though, yeah, it does do 40 hit points of damage no matter what, and that can be useful, by the time you get it, just not worth it. Dream Eater's a weird one. It is the most powerful psychic attack and replenishes your HP. So from that perspective, pretty ridiculous. It honestly is. But the fact that you have to put the other Pokemon to sleep, I think I'm going to put it in B tier. I was thinking potentially A tier for that one, but just the fact that you have to pair it with a sleeping move, and that can get a little tricky and dicey and kind of annoying. Yeah, I'm going to put it in B tier for that one. Droppack. I actually think Droppack's one of the best flying attacks, maybe the best, actually. I'm going to put this in A tier, actually, because fly sometimes can take way too long and everything. I'm going to go A tier for Droppack. Very, very powerful flying attack. Earthquake, S tier. Definitely S tier. Arguably, again, one of the most powerful physical attacks alongside Dig, but just saves you an extra turn, right? Saves you some time. So definitely have to go S tier, especially for some Pokemon who don't have that many good attacks against ghosts. I still don't get how Earthquake can hit ghosts, but normal moves can't. It's kind of funny, but again, this is Gen 1 we're talking about, but Egg Bomb, I think I'm going to go D tier for this one. It's kind of, Ember. Decent fire move to kick off with. This is going to be bold. This is going to be pretty bold. Ooh. Unpopular opinion. I'm actually going to go B tier. And I'll tell you why. Is I think it's because if you can get Ember early in the game, like say with Charmander, the beginning of the game is so sped up. It's arguably one of, like, the best moves to have, I think, early on in the game. I guess you could arguably be Butterfree with Confusion, but I'm gonna put this one in B tier just because of when you get it, like, or when you have the opportunity to get it. Later on in the game, it does kind of fade off, but I think there is something to be said for a lot of these moves about the timing of when you get them. And I think in the beginning of the game with Charmander, Ember's pretty efficient. And I know B tier may be a little too high. I'm going back and forth between C and B, but I'm like, it's definitely better than Absorb. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go B tier, honestly, which I know is kind of crazy because Ember with Bubble Beam, but I think when you get it, it's just so good, honestly. Explosion, this one could go in a lot of different ways. It is, as far as I know, the most powerful physical attack in the game, actually. But it does take out your Pokemon, but it can be useful. If, let's say you're just like, look, I need to do what I can. I want to put this one in D tier, though, just the fact that it knocks you out automatically. Fire Blast, A tier. Fire Blast is pretty powerful. I think it's kind of weird how a lot of Pokemon can learn it that can't really learn a lot of other like special attacks. Like Golem can learn Fire Blast. I don't know why. Like, doesn't really seem like something that Golem could learn. So it's interesting that for a lot of Pokemon, like I said, that don't usually learn a lot of special moves, Fire Blast is the one that they can learn for some odd reason. You know, it's the most powerful fire attack, arguably. Fire Punch, I'm gonna go C tier. I don't, this one's all right to me. Fire Spin, D tier. I don't know why, but I feel like Gen 1, it seemed like they hype up this move. Like, it's the last fire move you learn for a lot of fire Pokemon. It's a mid-trapping move, and yes, there are some advantages to trapping Pokemon when it comes to trapping moves. You can even combine it with, like, Toxic to, like, use a super cheap strat, but low accuracy and everything, it's just not worth it. Fissure. Okay. First one-hit KO move. There's 3 in Gen 1. There's Fissure, Guillotine, and Horn Drill. It's funny that when I first started playing Pokemon, one-hit KO moves seemed like the GOAT. Like, oh my god, one-hit KO. And then the more I played, the more I'm like, yeah, these moves are kind of trash. Like, you need to be faster than the other Pokemon. 30% accuracy, low in power points. But then the more I played, the more I'm like, you know what? There'll be some times, especially, like I said, in a lot of solo Pokemon challenges, which I feel like a lot of these I am kind of basing a lot of my rating around or tier ranking around, where it is the best move. As opposed to trying to luck through a battle, the luck is actually more in your favor if you use a one-hit KO move. I'm going to put this one, actually, I think in C tier, though, but I think it does have a lot of good utility. Flamethrower, A tier. Also, same thing as Fire Blast. I know it's kind of crazy to put them both in the same tier. It's kind of similar to these two. But I think it's, it is, in my opinion, one of the most reliable fire moves with, more power points, of course, than Fire Blast. Better accuracy and a lot more. Flash, I'm going to put an F tier. I think because, yes, reducing someone's accuracy is great, but it's an HM. You can't delete it. There's no move deleter in Gen 1. Fly, I'm going to go C tier. It can be very useful, I think, in some situations with some Pokemon, but the two-turn thing can sometimes kind of eat at you. It's not that powerful, but sometimes it can be useful, in a lot of situations. And it's kind of interesting how sometimes it does increase your diversity. Like, for some reason, Charizard in Pokemon Red and Blue cannot learn Fly, but in Pokemon Yellow, Charizard can learn Fly. So there is some good parts about it, but, Focus Energy has to be F tier. Focus Energy, in case you don't know, there's a bug in Gen 1 where it's supposed to do is increase your critical hit chance, and it actually decreases it. So there is, I think, as far as like 2 useful aspects of Focus Energy. One is Brock, like, so you want to avoid Bide if you are somehow doing a solo Pokemon challenge. Or 2, if, let's say, you're using a Pokemon like Scyther that can learn Swords Dance, it's kind of ironic that you use Focus Energy to decrease your critical hit chance. So then when you use Slash, for example, it's less likely to crit because you use Swords Dance, it actually boosts the power of it. Because in case you don't know, when you get a critical hit, it bypass stat changes. So it's weird Gen 1 stuff, right? Figure Attack, D. I mean, it's not horrible, but it's not anything that I'd put in like a C tier. Fury Swipe, same thing. Glare, Paralysis is pretty good in Gen 1. I might put Glare Action C tier. Growl, D tier. I mean, in the beginning of the game, it can be helpful. Don't get me wrong, but Growth. I'm going to put growth in A tier, actually. Again, remember, increasing your special is both offensive and defensive in Gen 1. Basically, growth in Gen 1 is Calm Mind. So, definitely A tier. I don't think it's full on S tier, though, because, I mean, when you compare these, but it's pretty dang good. Guillotine, I'm going to put in the same thing. C tier, the 1-hit KO move. You got to be faster, but there can be a good amount of uses for it. Gust, D tier. I think especially because Gust is actually classified as a normal move. I don't know. I'm looking at the colors here. It seems like they color-coded. Of course, you could probably tell each move. This is incorrectly colored. Gust in Gen 1 is actually not a flying move. It's a normal move. If it was a flying move, maybe there could be some better uses to it because you get, like, it could be super effective and everything, but this is actually not a flying move in Gen 1. Harden, because the badge boosts glitch, but it only boosts your defense. I think it's only by one stage 2. I'm putting it in C tier. It can be very useful, but let's do that one. Haze, I think D tier. Because affecting all the stat changes can be super detrimental to you as well. Headbutt, not bad. I'm putting C tier, I think. High jump kick. There is a glitch in Gen 1 where you're supposed to get like damage if, like, say you miss, but it only takes off, what is it, 1 hit point or something like that. It is a decent fighting attack, though. I think I'm going to put it actually, it's either in C or B. I might put it potentially in B tier because if you are using Hitmonlee, which is the only Pokemon that can learn it in Gen 1, I think it's decent. Horn attack, put it in C tier. There's actually it's actually a decently strong attack for, like, say, when you get it, like, say, with Nidoran Male, for example, earlier on the game. Horn Drill, same thing. It's kind of funny, Horn attack and Horn Drill, same category for me, but, you know. Hydro Pump, I think Hydro Pump's a bit overrated to me. I actually might put Hydro Pump just because of low power points. I actually might put it in B tier. I feel like Hydro Pump and Fire Blast are kind of comparable of the most powerful attack for that type in terms of the damage it can do and also the power points. But I think the thing is with Fire Blast, a lot of Pokemon can learn it. It can be a very, very useful TM. Hydro Pump, because I think it's not a TM, I'm putting it in B tier. Hyper Beam, just the recharging. Even though in Gen 1, with this attack, if you knock out the Pokemon, you don't have to recharge. But also the fact that getting it in, like, the game corner can be a nightmare. I think I'm actually going to put it in D tier. It can be useful, but, you know. Hyper Fang, I'm actually going to put this one, I think, in actually A tier. I know that's kind of crazy, but I think the reason why is you get it so early on in the game and same type attack bonus, and the fact that it deal damage, and the fact that it could potentially flinch the other Pokemon. Pretty go-to move, especially for that early on. Hypnosis. Sleep is unbelievably overpowered in Gen 1, especially because you can be asleep for, was it like 7 turns, and the fact that you don't attack on the turn you wake up. But the problem with Hypnosis, it being pretty much a coin flip, if it's actually going to put them to sleep, I'm going to put it in C tier. I think this can save a lot of Pokemon, but it's kind of annoying. I'm not going to lie, using Hypnosis. Ice Beam, A tier. For sure, A tier. I know I put it alongside Aurora Beam, but I think Ice is very underrated as a type in Gen 1. Ice Punch, C tier. I think Ice Punch is decent. Actually, you know what? But not a lot of Pokemon really learn Ice Punch, but yeah, I think I'm going to put it in C tier because I feel like because you can get the Ice Beam TM pretty early on in the game, relatively speaking, I guess you kind of get it more in the mid-game, I'd say. By that point, you probably would replace Ice Punch anyway, or like, I think C tier for Ice Punch. Jump Kick, C tier, fine. Karate Chop. This is also incorrectly marked. Karate Chop is actually a normal move in Gen 1, not fighting. If it was fighting, I think I'd rank it higher, but it also has a pretty high critical hit chance. I think I'd put it in actually in B tier. I think if it was a fighting type move in Gen 1, I would put it in A tier, especially like say if, it's got to go in B tier. Yeah. Kinesis. kind of an interesting one. I feel like Kinesis is one of those Gen 1 moves I always kind of forget that exists. Lowering accuracy can be pretty good. I think I'm going to put this actually in B tier, which is crazy to say, but it's because when you lower accuracy, if I just do Kinesis once, it drops your chance of hitting by like a third. So just one use of Kinesis can have pretty good effect on the rest of the battle. Leech Life, I'm also going to put this one in C tier. I was just looking at Absorb. It really is one of the only bug moves in the game, one of the only attacking bug moves in the game, which can be useful against psychic types and does replenish your HP. But yeah, I think C tier is pretty solid for that. Leech Seed. I'm actually putting one in B tier. I feel like Leech Seed doesn't get enough hype. It can be very useful, especially if you pair it with like Poison. And remember, once you get Leech Seeded, you can't avoid it, right? So let's say if you're battling a really powerful Pokemon or whatever, this can be super, super useful. Leer to decrease defense. I don't know if this is in D tier. I feel like it's just not as useful, to be blunt. Lick. Also D tier. I think it's because it is the only move that can get the same type of attack bonus for ghosts, but has very, very low in power. Yes, it can paralyze, but I think the fact that for some reason Ghost, like the type is physical in Gen 1, not special, and Ghastly, Gengar, and Haunter don't really have good attack. They have good special. It's kind of odd. It's kind of like a weird one. So D tier. Light Screen, because it does last a long time, I think put this one, I think, in B tier. Especially like later on, this could be a huge saver just when it comes to battling special Pokemon. Lovely Kiss, a little better than Hypnosis, and Sleep is pretty good in Gen 1. I think I'm actually gonna put it here, I think, in B tier, honestly. I think that's a pretty solid like sleep move. Low Kick, pretty decent fighting move, I guess. I think I'm gonna put this one maybe also in B tier, surprisingly. Yeah, I think that's a good B tier placement. Meditate is an odd one. Because the weird thing is, I feel like the Pokemon that learn Meditate usually have higher specials. So it's kind of like, why increase your attack? Like, I feel like Meditate, when I think about meditating, I think about growing my special, not my attack, right? I'm going to put it in C tier. It can be useful, again, for the badge boost glitch, of course, and like if you are doing physical attacks, but it's kind of a weird pairing. I feel like that happens a lot in Gen 1, that certain moves that boost stats, the Pokemon that learn them, like say, have a higher special or vice versa or something like that. Mega Drain can be very, very good. I think, I'm going to put that one, I think actually in B tier, because it is a pretty solid grass TM. I think one of the only grass TMs, actually, besides like Solar Beam, which is kind of all right. I think B tier placement actually for Mega Drain can be very useful, especially for type diversity for a lot of Pokemon. Mega Kick actually has some good utility. It is normal type. It's not fighting type. But I think I'm going to put Mega Kick. I mean, it's not the best accurate, or most accurate, but I think C tier works for Mega Kick. I'm going to leave it there. Mega Punch, surprisingly B tier. I think because the accuracy with Mega Punch is very annoying, but the fact that you get it in Mount Moon, pretty solid physical attack to get that early in the game, especially if you're a normal type. Yeah, definitely B tier. Metronome, F tier. This one's kind of fun to use, but like using it in practicality, non-existent. Mimic. It's gonna be an interesting one. Actually, S tier. I'm gonna put this in S tier because Mimic can save you in so many situations. It is one of those moves that's interesting. I think when I first learned about it, when I was like young playing Pokemon, I was like, I can steal a move, who cares? But there's some cases where Mimic is like beyond goated, and I feel like it is super underrated. So I'm gonna put it in S tier actually. Minimize, I hate to say it, also S tier. Again, any kind of like dodging move or evasion boosting move like Double Team, it's super cheap, but if I had to be just super just direct, yeah, I mean it does allow you to win super easily, right? Mirror move, I feel like this one's it has a couple uses, but I'm gonna put it in D tier. I just don't think it's really as useful, to be honest. Mist, that also kind of protects you from being like having your stats being changed. I'm also gonna put it in D tier as well. I feel like this one just, it can be useful, don't get me wrong, but not as useful. Although again, some of these do have like a couple use cases. Nightshade, I'm going to put this one surprisingly, I think in... I think I'm going to put this one in C tier. It does the damage of your level, and it can have a few different uses, but of course, only the Ghost Line learns it, but it can have some uses, right? I think it's not actually a bad move, especially, like, say, depending on who you're fighting. Peck, surprisingly a decent move. I'm also, there's going to be, again, some of these may be unpopular opinions. I'm also going to put this one in C tier. Peck is actually decently powerful, and compared to Gust, it does get same type of attack bonus with flying and can be super effective. Pretty decent starting move, honestly, like for someone like Sparrow, for example. Petal Dance, it's kind of like the grass version of Thrash. I'm actually also going to put it in C tier. I just don't like that it locks you into it. Can be decent, but then also confuses you afterwards. Pin Missile. There's only like a couple Pokemon that learn this one. I'm going to put it in D tier. Like, the only use of it, I feel like sometimes is like, if you have like Jolteon and you're facing like Alakazam, like very specific uses, but it's not really that good of a move. Poison Gas, I feel like the Pokemon being poison is kind of annoying, but I'm going to put this also in D tier. Poison Powder as well. And Poison Sting. I think all three of these I'm going to put in D tier. They're just not that powerful, especially Poison Sting with Weedle, like the only attacking move besides like a struggle. Yeah. Pound, also D tier. It's, it does get same type of attack bonus for a lot of the Pokemon that learn it, but actually, should I put, no, it's not, I think it's not high enough to be put in C tier. Psybeam, A tier. Psybeam is pretty powerful, and Psychic attacks are honestly just the best attacks in Gen 1, and Psybeam's pretty solid. Especially because you can get it pretty early on, I feel like, depending on how quick you evolve your Pokemon. Psychic, S tier. For sure, S tier. This move is, I think, honestly, the best Psychic attack. You could argue, yeah, Dream Eater does do more damage, but, like, the chance that it could also potentially lower the opponent's special, which, again, remember, in Gen 1 is both offensive and defensive. Yeah, S tier. Psywave, F tier. Very, very weird move. It does anywhere between 0 and 1.5 times your level. So, like, say if you're level 100, it can either deal 0 damage or 150. But it's, again, a roll of the dice. It's a gamble. It's very similar to, like, Metronome in a way that you just don't know what you're going to get. Not useful. Quick Attack, I'm going to put in C tier. Quick Attack actually going to have some pretty good usefulness, especially in the game when it comes to, like, attacking multiple times in a row. And it does get same type of attack bonus. Yeah. Rage, F tier. Not useful at all. You get locked into it. You can't switch out your Pokemon. You're just locked into Rage for the rest of the battle. Not useful. Razor Leaf. I'm actually think I'm going to go S tier for Razor Leaf. The fact that you get same type of attack bonus, of course, but also a very high like critical hit chance, really, really good. The only annoying thing about it is keep in mind, when you boost your stats, critical hits, avoid those. So like if I'm using Venusaur with Razor Leaf, for example, and I use Growth, it's not going to affect the damage of it, but even still, as a standalone move, Razor Leaf is pretty dang good. Razor Wind, F tier. That's all I have to say. Recover, I feel like it's interesting. If you're using items in battle, this actually isn't that useful of a move, in my opinion. If you're not using items in battle, it can be. So it is very kind of contextual of how and when and the style that you're playing. But if you're playing Pokemon as, like, say, you're doing a speedrun, or you're playing it with the way the game is meant to be played, where you can use items in battle, you're not doing a solo Pokemon run, I actually think C tier. I do think C tier. Like, I was thinking potentially B, but I feel like if you're using items in battle, C tier. If you're not using items in battle, potentially B tier, but I don't think Recover is as useful as people initially think it is, when you first start playing. Reflect is actually an interesting one. I feel like with Reflect, because it lasts the whole battle, as opposed to, like, say, other generations, I put it potentially in B tier, surprisingly. It's like almost like the physical version of Light Screen. Rust, Scott's thoughts would be pumped about this one. I'm actually going to put it in A tier. This is like a phenomenal move to replenish all your HP and also remove any kind of potential stat changes. It's in a sense, almost like a full restore that just eats up 2 of your turns, but this can be super useful in a lot of situations. If you're using items in battle, I might put it lower, but this one actually has a lot of good utility. So I'm going to put this one in A tier, to be honest. Roar, F tier. Doesn't really do anything. Rock Slide, I'm actually going to put this one in B tier. Not the best accuracy and everything, but it's really, there's really only, 2 attacking rock moves, and it's kind of weird how they kind of nerfed them in terms of accuracy, damage, everything, but Rock Slide can be a good TM to get. I think that's why I am going to put it as high as B tier. Rock Throw, I put an F tier. It's super low accuracy. Not that, you know what, maybe D tier, because sometimes, like, all right, I'm stuck with this move, but maybe I'll put it in F. I don't know. You know, I'm going to leave it in D tier, because there's a couple cases, but I just don't know why they made this so low accuracy. It doesn't make any sense. Like, how is an attack like Blizzard have a better accuracy than Rock Throw? Rolling Kick, I'm going to put it in C tier. Pretty solid. Good. You know what? Actually, I'm going to put it in B tier, actually, now that I think about it. Pretty decent. Sand Attack, I'm going to say B tier, I think. Just reducing the accuracy can be super, super useful. It is super cheap, but yeah, I'm going to put it right there. Scratch, beginning move, Screech can be a little better, but I feel like with defense, I'm also going to put it in D tier, yeah. Seismic Toss, this is going to be an interesting one. I'm actually put this one in B tier. I think it's because it's a TM that anyone can learn, or actually not anyone, but most Pokemon, I think a good amount of Pokemon can learn this one. But the fact that it does a fixed amount of damage means it can hit ghosts, actually. So for some Pokemon, this can actually be a pretty decent move to have because the damage it does is equal to your level. I think B tier, honestly, just because it's a TM. I feel like for some of these, like let's say you couldn't learn Seismic Toss as a TM, I'd probably rank it lower. But the fact that you can get it as a TM and pretty early on can be pretty useful. Self-Destruct, D tier. Also along with Explosion, it just... yeah, it does. It can deal a good amount of damage, but it knocks out your Pokemon. Sharpen to increase attack, I think has some utility. I think Porygon is the only Pokemon that can learn Sharpen. I just double checked. Actually, Porygon is actually the only Pokemon that can learn in Gen 1, which is kind of weird because I feel like Porygon's more of a special attacker. Again, one of those weird kind of pairings and matchups. Sing, pretty bad at accuracy, but Sleep is pretty powerful. I'm going to put it in C tier just because Sleep is very overpowered in Gen 1, but bad accuracy. Skull Bash, put it in like D tier. It doesn't raise your defense. It takes 2 turns. Nah. Sky Attack, also D tier. Like, you have to charge up, at first, so we get another 2-turn move. Yeah. Slam, honestly, the low accuracy really frustrates me. I'm going to put this one actually also in D tier, excuse me. I feel like a lot of these moves I'm putting mostly in D tier because I'm pretty picky about my Pokemon moves, and there's so many moves, as you can tell. All right, Slash, I'm going to say B tier. I do wish you can combine it with Swords Dance, and I feel like most Pokemon that learn Slash can learn Swords Dance, but like I've said a bunch of times already, if you boost your stats, critical hits bypass that, so it kind of is annoying that you can't really pair them in a sense, but Slash is still pretty decent, right? Sleep Powder, A tier. One of the best, I think, sleep moves. I think the second best, which we'll get to, I think, in a little bit. But yeah, I'm going to put this one in A tier, actually, because pretty good accuracy. Again, Sleep is very overpowered. Sludge, the best poison move, really. I might put this one in... maybe B tier, surprisingly. It's not that good of a move, but I feel like in a lot of situations, it's your only same type of attack bonus. So I feel like in a lot of cases, you're like, well, all right, I'm stuck with it kind of thing. So I'm putting that one there. Smog, D tier, not worth it. Smokescreen, put this one also with the stat changing moves. Where did I put them all? Or the one that affects accuracy. I think put it here. Yeah. Along with Sand Attack and all the other ones, B tier for sure. Soft-boiled for Chansey or potentially Mew, right? I think on this one, surprisingly in C tier because you can use it for other Pokemon. Actually, maybe B tier. This one can be very useful in very unique ways if you get very creative in battle and everything. So I'm going to put B tier actually. Solar Beam, I'm going to put C tier. It can be very good, but again, 2-turn move. Sonic Boom, also C tier. I think because it does 20 points of damage every time. It can be actually very useful in some situations, but just C tier. Spike Cannon, D tier, and I don't think it's as worth it. Spore, actually S tier. So only Parasect and Paris can learn it. But the reason why I'm putting it in S tier is one, super overpowered when it comes to sleep in Gen 1, like I mentioned, but two, 100% accuracy. 100% accuracy. Minus the fact that the 1 in 256 glitch, in case you didn't know, there's a 1 in 256 that any 100% accuracy move can actually miss in Gen 1. But this is it is the best sleep-inducing move, and sleep is super overpowered in Gen 1. Oh, only have a few left. Stomp. What about that one C tier? That actually, decent. It's decent. Strength. I'm actually put this one in F tier. It's maybe, in some cases, it might be useful, but I feel like the fact that you just can't unlearn it. It's also not a fighting type move, which I feel like it probably should have been. Yeah. String Shot, F tier. Long Speed, Struggle. I don't know where to put this one, I'll be honest. Because you need it. Like, it's not like a move that you can just be like, nah, I'm not going to learn it. Because, you know, like... But in some cases, like say in a lot of like solo challenges, Struggle's actually your best attacking move. I think I'm going to put it in C tier. Struggle sometimes can be like, you're like, at least I know Struggle and I can use it. Stun Spore, Paralysis can be... I'm putting C tier. I think Sunspore, to be honest. Submission, okay fighting move, can have some utility, but the recoil, I actually also might put this one in C tier because I think in some situations, because it is a TM, can have some usefulness, but actually, you know, it's kind of like a mid double edge. Actually, I'm gonna put it here. Yeah. Substitute. Really good in Gen 1. I might put Substitute, I think, actually in A tier. I feel like I've not done that many A tier placements, but I think Substitute can be very useful and very creative if you use it well, especially if you combine it with Rust and all that kind of stuff. Substitute's pretty good. Super Fang. I'm gonna put this one in maybe C tier or B tier. What it does, it halves the opponent's HP. I'm gonna put this one in B tier, actually. This one can be pretty powerful, actually. Supersonic, D tier. I feel like, you know, yeah, that's all I have to say about Supersonic. Confusion can be helpful, but kind of low accuracy. Surf, actually, I'm going to put it in A tier. The fact that it's an HM, so you can teach it to a lot of different Pokemon. So I will say that. Arguably the best water move. You know, I'm going to put it, again, ahead of Hydro Pump. Swift, I don't think it's as good. I'm going to put it in D tier. Yeah. Swords Dance, S tier, for sure. I think like Amnesia and Swords Dance are arguably like the best moves in the game. And in this case, yeah, definitely Swords Dance for S tier. Tackle, classic Tackle. I think D, I hate to say it, it's all right, I guess. Tail Whip, same thing. Takedown, also. Yeah, a lot of these are going in D tier, surprisingly. Yeah, do it like that. Teleport can have some utility, but it's not necessarily an attacking move, but it's a good like field move. It's almost like a low-key HM. I'm gonna put it in D tier. I was gonna put it in F tier, but I'm like, no, because sometimes Teleport can actually be very useful. Thrash, I'm gonna put it in C tier. I think Thrash can be good, but it locks you into it. You get confused after. Thunderbolt, S tier. I think Thunderbolt is one of the best TMs in the entire game. Very useful in a lot of situations. Good accuracy, good power points, good damage, like all the things, all the different things. Thunder, I'm putting C tier. I feel like, to be honest with Thunder, the reason I'm ranking it kind of low is just how you have to get it. You have to go all the way to the power plant and everything, and low accuracy. Thunder Punch, I think I'm going to put maybe actually B tier, surprisingly. I did put Ice Punch in C tier, but I feel like Thunder Punch, like I'd almost maybe rather pick Thunder Punch over Thunder, to be honest. Yeah, I'm gonna put this one in B tier because I think electric attacks are pretty decent in Gen 1. Thunder Shock, D tier, I mean, yeah. Thunder Wave, you know what? I wonder if I should put Thunder Shock in C tier too. No. Thunder Wave, actually I'm gonna put this here because paralysis, again, can be very useful. Toxic can have really good utility, but I'm gonna put it in C tier. I feel like you can use it in a lot of cheap ways. Transform, only Mew and Diddle learn it. And in some cases, it's your only move. I'm gonna put it in F tier. I feel like it just, you know, Tri Attack. Tri Attack has a really good utility, I think, in the other generations, but for this one, not as much. It's kind of like one of those moves I do forget about a lot in Gen 1. I'm going to put it in C tier because it's like, say, if you do want to learn it, it's kind of ironic. It's actually Missing No's best move is Tri Attack. Like I did do a video where I wanted to see, could you beat Pokemon Red and Blue with just a Missing No? And the answer was yes. And Tri Attack is his best move, which is kind of ironic. But besides that, Twin Needle, really cool move, which is Beedrill's main move. I'm going to put this one actually in B tier. Pretty decent damage. Also going to have secondary effects and everything. I'm going to put it in B tier, actually, yeah. Twin Needle's a bit underrated. But again, you only use it once in a while, but still pretty good. Vine Whip, C tier. Pretty solid move, honestly. I don't know why, though, it gets 10 power points. And yet Razor Leaf gets 25 power points. Make that make sense. Vice Grip, I put this one also in C tier. Yeah. Waterfall. Here's what's kind of funny. I feel like Waterfall is one of those moves that you forget in Gen 1. Because I think it's like what Sea King's main attack and also Goldeen's as well. It's like their signature move. I think I'm going to put it in C tier though, because by the time you're going to get it, you should already have Bubble Beam and Surf. Like, so although it's a cool kind of one-of-a-kind move in a sense, C tier. Water Gun, I'm also going to, you know what? I'm going to put this one actually in B tier. I know it's kind of crazy, but I think the reason why is the fact that you get it in Mount Moon so early can be very, very useful to have like more type diversity in your moveset. So just because of when you get it, to be honest, I think that alone, B tier. Whirlwind, F tier, not useful. Wing Attack, I'm about C tier actually. Wing Attack isn't bad, surprisingly. Withdraw, yeah, maybe D tier. Because by the time you get it too, I think in a lot of cases, like boosting your defense, yeah, the badge boost glitch, but you know what? Maybe, no, I think by the time you get it, you're like, eh. And then last but definitely not least, Wrap. Very low accuracy, but can be used in a very cheap way. I think I'm going to do D tier. Gotta say, I actually forgot how many moves there are in Gen 1. Some very iconic ones to really kick off the Pokemon series, especially for Gen 1. Like I said in the beginning of the video, it is kind of iconic where the way some of these moves, a lot of these moves actually interact with the game and everything, completely unique just to Gen 1 because of how broken it is, how glitchy it is, and how weird it is. So these moves, super iconic, ready to really set the stage for the rest of Pokemon.